Holy crap, guys, it's finally here. First person mode in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. The one caveat against this game I had when it launched was that it was third person and it drove me crazy. Now first person mode has launched in beta and it's basically as good as I thought it would be. Despite the fact that the patch that just came out with it is insanely buggy, probably the most buggy patch I've ever played, with tons of server lag. Despite all that, first-person mode is still a hell of a lot more fun than I've had playing PUBG in third-person mode. The firefights are now fair, they feel more tactical, they feel less advantageous to one specific player just because they have the upper ground. It's now more about who can aim better, who has better weapon handling mechanics, and I love it. I've been doing better with it. One of the best things about it is that I no longer shy away from building fighting. In third-person mode, I would see somebody held up in a building. I know that they can see me from the third-person camera, and it makes very little sense to push that building. There's too many places for them to hide and pop out and shoot me at the perfect moment. Now that it's first-person only, I've had multiple instances of assaulting buildings with players in them and taking them out. In fact, I go for it now. If I see gunshots coming out of a building, I'll usually push the building for a fun and engaging firefight that's equal. It's also changed up a lot of the meta. If you're used to playing PUBG in third-person mode, you'll know that rooftops of buildings are some of the most advantageous places to camp. You can go prone on them, use your camera to see all around you in 360 degrees. Now if you're hanging out on a rooftop on a building, well, you stick out like a sore thumb. Sure, you can see all around you, but it actually becomes far more advantageous for your opponent because they're going to be scanning the rooftops of buildings while you're going to be scanning entire cities or entire vistas. It's going to be much harder for you to locate your enemy before they locate you. So hanging out on rooftops is no longer really that great of a tactic. Windows work better, but again, when I'm pushing towards a building and I think that there might be somebody in there, I look at the windows. If somebody's looking at that window, then I know there's somebody in there. It's no longer that third-person peeking game. And what's even cooler is that I've pushed a building where somebody saw me coming, they shot out of the window at me. I was able to basically headshot them through the window. They had to pull back and heal, and that allowed me to push the building. So basically now when somebody peeks out a window, they don't already know exactly where I am. They have to locate me, which gives me enough time to zero in on the window and take shots. And this allows you to push buildings now. Oh my god, it is just balanced so much better, and all the gimmicky crap from third person is gone instantly. So building fighting has improved by 100%. I'm no longer afraid of pushing into bigger cities or getting into bigger city fights as much. I know that people in cities have far less visibility. Nature fighting, on the other hand, has become far more risky. If you're running through, say, a forest with lots of trees and you start taking fire and you get behind another tree for cover based on where you think the direction of the shots are coming from, in third-person mode, you used to be able to use your camera to sort of look around the tree and locate where your enemy was and then sort of devise a strategy based on that. In first-person mode, you're behind that tree. You can't peek out to see where your enemy is and devise a strategy, so it becomes incredibly difficult to re-engage that opponent. Often you have to try and back up from the firefight or take some cheeky peeks where you're trying to locate your enemy, but you're also risking getting headshot. It can be easier to lock people down in first-person only mode in the forest. Then again, if there's multiple opponents and multiple angles, you have to worry about that. And of course, the strategy changes up when you're playing with duos or in squads, as you have teammates to sort of back you up and say, hey, I'm pinned down, the guy I think is on a tree at this angle or whatever. Can you engage him there? Now, unfortunately, the first few days of this patch were incredibly buggy. Well, very laggy anyway. The first 5 to 8 minutes of any game, people would be teleporting around. It was hard to aim at people. Everything was just kind of janky and not fun to play. It changed up my gameplay quite a bit. However, while I'm doing the voiceover right now, I see a tweet from PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds that they've actually implemented a server hotfix, and people on Reddit are saying that it's actually fixed it now. So hopefully, I haven't tested it out personally, but hopefully this is a good fix to this. I also had a whole bunch of other bugs where, like, I was trying to play duos and my duo partner wouldn't show up in the server. Even though we'd be in the same server, it wouldn't show us on the same teams, or we wouldn't have icons over our heads. So duo playing was pretty much broken at one point, which is unfortunate. So there's a lot of bugs with this. Also, they implemented some new control schemes, which do kind of break the game in certain ways. Well, I wouldn't say break it, but add some weird situations to the game. For example, you can now implement hold or toggle for a lot of commands, and you can now toggle lean in the game, which a lot of players requested. I am used to toggle leaning from Rainbow Six Siege. It's my preferred way of leaning. It gives you a little bit more movement control where you don't have to hold E or Q. You can just toggle it, which is nice. The only problem though is that now that when you toggle lean, if you leave it in toggle and you're not aiming down sight, there's no indication that you're actually leaning in game. They don't really cant your camera at all. Only when you're aiming down sights will you notice that you're leaning. And so it can be really frustrating at first if you don't know what's going on, because it slows down the movement of your character like to a walk. And so I got stuck in this like walking animation and I couldn't figure out why the heck it was happening. I thought the walk button had been held down, or it was like broken or something, and I was like rebinding keys and I got killed. And then eventually I found out that it was the toggle lean thing. But even now that I'm aware of the toggle lean mechanic in the game and how it works, it's still not perfectly implemented and still kind of janky and confusing. So there's certainly some refinement that needs to come along with some of these new controls and mechanics that have been implemented. They also gave 2 new UI features for first person only mode. I think you can implement these UI features for third person as well, but they'll show you what your armor levels are via UI. Since you can't see your third person model anymore, you don't really see your helmet or your armor or your backpack on your character until you open your inventory. And so now you can have a UI thing on screen that shows you what armor pieces you have. And likewise, you can do the same with weapons. So it'll show you your primary, your secondary, and your sidearm, and also your grenade. And it just kind of lets you know without having to see your character model. Alright, now with the July patch also came a whole bunch of new cosmetic stuff. There's 3 different types of crates you can unlock in game. One of them requires a key that costs $2.50 to unlock. Some of these items that people have been unlocking from these crates now have rarity values. So there's like extremely rare items and then less rare and slightly less rare than that. Some of them are already showing up on the Steam Marketplace for like hundreds of dollars, which is absolutely crazy. I hope the market kind of normalizes a bit, but the loot in PUBG is insane right now. People are selling it for so much money. It's absolutely insane. I recommend holding off for a little while until hopefully the market normalizes a bit if you really want a piece of gear, or just hopefully getting it in a crate yourself. Some of the stuff is inevitably going to be extremely rare, especially since some of it's only going to be available this month for the Gamescom event. So it's kind of crazy, but already cosmetics are like worth their weight in gold in PUBG. It's cool for the economy side of things, bad if you really want some of the cosmetic items and you don't have a lot of money to spend, especially considering that some of the cosmetic items, given how much they're charging for them in game, are kind of lame looking. So I don't know. I hope the quality of the cosmetic items in the future improves significantly, and that hopefully they become a little bit more available. Right now it does feel like we're in sort of an elitist cosmetic community right now, and that there's not too much you can do if you're just a casual player, or like the stuff you get as a casual player is really kind of lame. Anyway, this is a market that they're basically building. It needs to normalize. The community has obviously set the value behind items and stuff like that, so the devs are going to have to try and regulate it if they can by maybe increasing the drop rates of certain things, or just making it easier to get crates in general. Now, of course, the patches also come with a bunch of cool little small animations. One of my favorites is when you're drinking one of your energy drinks. You actually drink it and then toss the can on the ground. You can watch it rolling away. Lots of cool things have kind of been implemented to sort of fine-tune and refine the game. The Mark 14 EBR is in the game as well. Unfortunately, it's still a supply drop only, which makes it incredibly rare, and in playing 8 hours I never got one, although technically I did find one. I was streaming and my chat said that I missed one on like a dead body that I was looting. So technically in 8 hours I might have found one Mark 14 EBR. I really wish PUBG would stop making some of these weapons so freaking rare in the supply drops, and maybe just have a rare spawn around the world, because I think we need a little bit more weapon variety. Oh yeah, and the SKS now has a lower rail attachment, so you can put an angled grip or a vertical grip on it to try and make it hopefully a little bit more controllable and make the SKS a little bit more of a desirable weapon, as it's usually something that I pass up right now. So there's, again, been a lot of little changes in this patch. I'm not going to go over every single one of them because it's a huge list, but I will link the patch notes in the video description if you're actually interested in that. Overall, though, the first-person mode is great. It makes PUBG so much more enjoyable to me. I hope they don't take too long implementing squads for first person. I'm not really sure why they held off with doing 4-player first person mode, as I think honestly that's going to be the best way to play it. First person in solos is fun, but solos is also a good bit of chaos. Squads reduces that amount of chaos significantly, and I cannot wait to play first person with my buddies in PUBG. It's just going to be a blast. So I'm extremely excited about the future of this game now that I see that first person only mode is actually legitimately good. It plays out so much better in my opinion. Yeah, going forward, I just can't wait to see everything get improved, refined, bug fixes, and everything else. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.